Hey guys, Zativert here. I haven't made a video in a little bit, but I figured I should definitely make one, maybe even more than one video right now because they just did some changes to Vi, and I actually participated with, helping Riot figure out what kind of changes they could or should do for Vi. Basically, I've been complaining about various things with Vi forever, usually consistency problems because she had some pretty bad ones. And, you know, the people at Riot who I guess could work on it have been too busy with other things or whatever to care. But I guess they had some time now, probably at least partly because there's Arcane coming out and they're doing a lot of advertisement for that and stuff. And Vi is apparently a main character in Arcane. So here we are at patch 11.22 with about 12 or 13 days left in season 11, and we got some pretty nice Vi changes. And Vi is not even too weak right now, so I think this might actually, push her. I think this might actually push her to be viable and competitive and a top tier pick for solo queue. I think she might probably see a small nerf. But anyways, let's go over everything that I talked about with Riot first, so that you guys can get an idea of what I think all the problems are with Vi. So I tried to think of absolutely everything I could think of. I tried to ask other people if they had anything, but it seemed like nobody had anything that I hadn't already thought of. Maybe I'm just more meticulous, or maybe I just didn't ask the right people, but I'm going to open up a practice tool so I can show you guys some of these, and maybe we can even find out if some of them have been fixed, which haven't been mentioned, because I'm doing this on patch 11.22. I can't test all of these, however. There's some of them that are quite difficult to test. But I think with Riot, what I'm used to is basically if they haven't mentioned that they fixed something, they probably didn't fix it. It's really weird, really unusual for them to have fixed something if they didn't say they fixed it. So anyways, the first one is the W visual doesn't appear if target was hit while in fog. This one was not fixed, and this is just a problem with League of Legends, I guess. But the thing is with this is like, yeah, sure, it's just a problem with League of Legends, but there are other status effects and characters that don't have this problem, so I think it could get fixed. But you'll see here, like, these actually all have denting, or, okay, hold on a second, I gotta level myself up. What am I talking about? Okay, let's do this again. So, okay. Some of these actually did show up, but this one it didn't. It didn't have the denting blows circle on it, even though it actually did have a denting blows thing. Pretty minor, pretty, like, not a big deal, but it would be nice to just like have the little circles appear, even if it takes like a split second for the game to update again, and oh yeah, actually this actually does have a denting blows thing. That'd be nice. It is a little bit annoying and a little bit confusing sometimes when you don't see it, but it's there. So that's the first one. Q holding ward bush indicator doesn't show up. This wasn't a problem before, but it became a problem at some point. Basically, you know how this turns green when it's at a bush? It wasn't doing that while holding by Q. It seems like it sort of does now, but not really. It looks like they tried to fix this, but like, look, it keeps... This is really strange. But yeah, I'm going to say this is not fixed. I don't consider this to be a fix. You still can't use pink while holding Q, which is annoying, but yeah. I might mention this because it sounds like it was half fixed, but... or it seems like it was half fixed, but it really wasn't done very well. So here's another one. W proc kills don't play sound effect. This is a bug that came up about the same time this one did, like 2-ish years ago or so. Basically, if you get the last hit on a monster or whatever, hold on, I'm gonna have to, if I get the last hit on this and it's a denting blows proc, it was like a muted auto attack. Like it did the regular attack noise, but it didn't make the denting blows noise. There was a time for about 1.5 years where it made no noise. It was completely muted. It's really unsatisfying. If you get a last hit on a monster or a champion or a minion or whatever, and it just makes no noise at all, I think now it sort of makes an auto attack noise, but it doesn't make the denting blows sound. It used to always make the denting blow sound even if it was last hit, which, I love the denting blow sound effect. It's really satisfying, and, it feels like it should make it. It should. And this was not fixed. So, yeah. It still does this weird muted auto attack. Not a big fan of that. Although this isn't, these three all don't matter very much. They could be fixed. They wouldn't increase fight win rate at all. It would just be like, it would just feel better. And That's all. I mean, like, I think the purpose of changing her this patch wasn't necessarily to buff her, because she doesn't necessarily need a buff, right? But more so just to like make her feel better, make her more consistent, fix her problems, type of thing. This is a general thing. Her clear speed and map mobility, in terms of like competitive, like overall, in terms of all League of Legends characters and all levels of play or whatever, it's not that bad. It's okay. She's pretty like, you know, run of the mill, like average, slightly above average type thing. But if you compare her to like competitive picks, um, she's really not great. Like there are a lot of characters that will just clear like 10, 20 seconds faster than you, just showing up to places so much quicker than you with so much more health too. It's just, and there's not much room to make your clear better compared to like other characters like Karthus or Failsix or something or Kindred. They have so much room to make your clear like way faster if you're really skilled to character. Vi doesn't have much room for that. And even if you do that like crazy, like even if you're min-maxing extremely hard, it's it's still pretty damn not good, and it hurts a lot in competitive. In competitive, it's just you showing up to a place like a little bit later than someone else could lead to like a swing, and then that just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed, and eventually you lose the game, and that's it. And that happens quite regularly with something like Vi in high level games. So this is more of a general thing. I don't think they're going to be addressing this without, like, they can't address this without having to nerf other things, because she is always stronger in disorganized and low elo. We can't have Vi, like, just to have Vi be viable and competitive, have her, like, running the whole show in bronze or whatever. That's not really something Riot wants either, I don't think. Like, not with regards to Vi, but just in general. It's not how they do things. But that's worth mentioning. This is just a feel thing. Maybe there should be a sound effect for when you pass through people with your ultimate. There isn't right now. If you pass through something, you just kind of pass through it. It's a little awkward. It's a little anticlimactic. You expect to hear something, but there isn't. You just kind of like clip through them without any sound. This is an idea, I guess. The QCC duration is just barely not long enough for consistent combo. My idea, like, so I have this problem where, like, I want to Q auto ER somebody, or even just Q auto E somebody and have it be, like, just have this be consistent so that, like, whether I can or can't do something isn't like some weird coin toss that I'm trying to think about, like, like, am I willing to risk losing the entire game off of somebody being able to, like, respond to me going onto them by, like, 1/10 of a second or whatever? That just feels really bad. Like, it feels like really bad gameplay. Like, if you're playing a character in League of Legends, you should be able to know, like, okay, if I do this, I can then do this. Or, like, if I do this, they can respond by doing this. Or I can follow it up with this or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? There's, like, a pattern that you can kind of, like, expect from your abilities. Like, if you land Zerath's Stun, you should be able to get a Q off or something. I don't know, right? Like, and if that means like having it so that if you charge your Q longer, the stun or the knockback gets a little bit longer, it's a little bit shorter if it's short charge, because that's how it is for Viego, right? Like if you get a fully charged stun as Viego, you can like wail on people, but if you just get like a short one, you can get like maybe like an auto and maybe a Q, or just maybe a Q or whatever, right? That's kind of one of his balancing points. So that's an idea that I thought, like, they could, instead of just buffing it by making it longer or whatever, make it so that like it's a little shorter if it's charged less, but a little longer if it's charged more. So, like, if you're just fighting somebody or whatever, you're not going to CC them forever. But if you're like setting up for a bush catch or something, like you're way in advance setup or whatever, you get rewarded for that. You already do with extra damage, but in terms of like really being able to get a combo off, just being able to get a combo off, it's such a big fundamental thing, I guess. Anyways, and they did actually address this a little bit. They increased her CC duration by 0.05 seconds. So I think they want to be careful with increasing this, because, like, this will help a little bit, but it won't make it so they can Q auto ER people consistently, I don't think. The R has a 0.25 cast animation, it doesn't clip in instantly, although this should make it so it clips into people faster, logically. Like more reliably better. It used to require her to go inside people or something. I mean, but that's mostly when it already gets started. Anyways, my point is just basically like this will help a little bit, and I definitely think it'll feel a lot better, especially Q auto Eing people. Like, it feels horrible when you try to Q auto E somebody, like just your basic bread and butter combo, not even like getting an ult off or whatever, and somebody just like Zhonya's before you can complete your E. Like, that just feels like the stupidest thing ever. So yeah, I think this will help a decent amount. You'll definitely notice this feeling a lot more consistent. I have to play a lot of games to get a really good feel for it, but I think it'll feel a lot better. Maybe it could be longer. Maybe we could still have this at some point, but I don't know. Anyways, so E, the empowered auto uncancelable, it gets canceled pretty regularly. Haha, pretty funny, honestly. Pretty sad. People moving too far away, losing vision, people going invisible. Used to happen 100% of the time with Akali until she was specifically changed not to do this. I noticed this a lot with Katarina, Zed, Lissandra, and LeBlanc are the ones I noticed it the most with. But I notice it with like people in general. Like sometimes like my E is supposed to follow anything. Like this guy's supposed to be able to flash or dash or whatever, and it's supposed to follow anyways. It's an uncancelable empowered auto attack. And Vi is not the only character with an uncancelable empowered auto attack. There's like 20 other ones. There's like like Blitzcrank's E, Darius's W, I think maybe like Set's right arm. Like there's quite a few of them. I'm trying to think. There's quite a lot of them, but I think Rek'Sai's Q. It's basically supposed to be like if the attack animation starts, like if it gets started, you know, if somebody flashes, it'll still complete. That's supposed to be the idea, and it's supposed to be like, you know, it's an impactful, empowered attack. Like, you know, it shouldn't just fizzle if somebody just flashes out of it, because that just feels really unsatisfying, and it makes the reliability of these types of characters a lot worse, I guess. So, yeah, having this be fixed up. What I've basically heard is from like some people who like bug testing League of Legends, I guess, like fans. The problem with it, at least partly, one of the problems with it at least, is that if somebody gets past a certain range away from you within that time, then it cancels regardless of the fact that it's supposed to not be able to be canceled. So although it seems like it's a bug, because it basically feels like a bug to anybody who's playing any of those characters and has their expectation of the attack being able to complete, you know, superseded by the attack being canceled inexplicably, like, it feels like a bug completely, but actually what's happening is that there's a soft range cap on how far away it'll actually follow somebody. So it should basically 100% follow flash, but every now and then, somebody can flash and get just out of range of it or whatever, such that it gets canceled before it goes off or whatever. Like, it's just really weird, inconsistent, unreliable, even though it's like supposed to be reliable. That's supposed to be the whole idea behind this change for these characters, but it doesn't work completely. I don't think this was fixed. They would have probably said something about it, but it's hard to test because I have to go into a custom with another person and have them like Wing away as LeBlanc or as Zed or whatever. It's Zed, LeBlanc, and Katarina. Oh my god, it happens so much. Anyway, so I really think this should be addressed, not just for Vi, but for everyone else, but I don't think it has. Sometimes it's also even worse. It goes into super slow-mo mode where you get basically put into like some like 1.5, 2 second kind of like self CC where your Vi is just like in this super long attack animation. She's just stuck, and it happens not very often, thankfully. I've seen it with Kalissa's passive, surprisingly. That surprised me a lot. I saw that not too long ago. LeBlanc passive, Fizzy, Stopwatch, Zanya, Lissandra R. Just weird things where like people somehow suddenly go into untargetability or whatever, or become invisible or something, and then this somehow tries to be uncancelable, but somehow some code like fucks it up or whatever, and it goes into this weird slow-mo mode where the attack actually does go off, unless the person's like, you know, in stasis or something, then it goes off onto nothing or whatever, which is really funny actually. But it feels horrible to be like stunned for like 2 seconds in an attack animation. I mean, yeah, it's a really bad bug. I don't know. They probably, you know, they already know about all of these, I'm pretty sure, but it's just a matter of like which ones I notice and which ones I care about or whatever, to like see which ones are worth addressing, because they don't have infinite time, I guess. Anyways, so here's another pretty bad one. Arcasts where you're rooted while traveling sometimes make Vi unable to attack after a target is reached until the route ends. And it happens with any route. I've seen this with Lux, Zyra, Morgana, Caitlyn, LeBlanc, Karma, Bear, Zaya, Yumi, Senna, Ryze, Nico. It's weird, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens regularly. Like it's hard because like I can't reproduce this in a practice tool or custom game, because like I need another person, and then if I have another person, I have to farm to level 6, I'll get my ultimate, and then I can only try like once every like 100 seconds or whatever. So I've like tried to get a consistent explanation for what makes it happen, other than I know that it's routes while you're traveling. I know that for sure. That's the only thing I know. I have clips of it happening to me. I have like 5 different clips of it happening to me with mostly with Lux and LeBlanc. But I've had it happen, like I've had it happen with Caitlyn so many times, Crazy Karma so many times, like, so it really is just a root problem. I don't think they fixed this, and it feels really bad, because like I'll be playing against like a Caitlyn. This is a regular situation, honestly, Caitlyn or maybe like a Lux or something, and I'll be like, I'm gonna ult this guy and just like start wailing on him, right? But then I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna ult him. He's gonna place a trap, and the trap is just gonna, hit me while I'm ulting, and it's gonna be completely ignored by my character, but not because my character is gonna get to them, and then I'm gonna be stuck there like this, just not able to do anything. No matter how much I attack, my character doesn't start attack animations for like until the duration of the route ends, and it's a pretty big deal because like roots don't actually stop you from being able to attack. They only stop you from being able to use like mobility stuff. You know what I mean? They're just supposed to. It's supposed to be like a stun, but without the component that stops you from being able to attack. So like if I ult Caitlyn and she's just able to like have like I ult her and then I get to her and I'm just standing still and she can just flash away, like start attacking me, flash away, and keep like just destroying me or whatever. Like that's game losing. So the fact that I have to think about this, really actively think about this in game, like shit, I shouldn't ult this Caitlyn who's a guaranteed free kill right now, losing her team the game, because if I do, then I might get trapped, and if I get trapped, then I can't attack, and then I lose I lose the entire game for my team just off of a bug. So I'm not gonna let that happen. Or the same thing happens with LeBlanc sometimes, and it doesn't always happen is the worst part. So like this is a really bad bug. I don't think it was addressed, but yeah. Okay, our self-CC and target CC lineup is inconsistent, which often has a large effect on games. I have a video of this. I don't know if it's still up on my channel or whatever, but basically the problem is just like when you're ulting, you can't do anything because you're ulting somebody, right? Like you're in the middle of your ulti cast or whatever, but they're also airborne. Like I can't do anything other than I guess flash or whatever when I'm on my way to somebody, and then once I start the animation, I especially can't do anything because I'm in the animation. So we're kind of like both CC'd. It's kind of like imagine like Malzahar ulting. Like when Malzahar is ulting somebody, he is stuck, but also his target is stuck, right? Basically, the way that Vi ultimate is supposed to work is your CC duration is supposed to end 0.25 seconds after after yours ends. You know what I mean? You're always supposed to have like this little 0.25 a second head start on them, like head start, so you can get a Q off or like get an auto off or get an E off or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be able to get that little edge on them, right? That's part of her design, I guess. Always has been. However, for as long as I've ever played Vi, the lineup between these two CC durations has been inconsistent. And what happens is oftentimes you actually get out of your CC at the same time they get out of your CC, or like a completely random duration. Like I tested it like repeatedly with like, frame by frame analysis and whatever, and like sometimes I would have like 0.23 of a second. That's the most I would ever get, which is less than it's supposed to be still, but that's the most I could ever get. Or sometimes I would get like 0.01 of a second. And it's horrible because like I would like be in like a game deciding play on like a super important carry or whatever, and I go onto them and I try to queue onto them, but they've already flashed or already Zhonya'd or already like, dashed or whatever. And I'm just like, well, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Because it's just like, it feels like I got cheated, and I did. It's just a bug. And it happened. It's like you were playing roulette every single time you ulted somebody. Whether or not you can queue them out of ulti is just like random. Just completely random. So now that shouldn't be a problem anymore. According to this is one of the things that they fixed. And I'm really glad for this because it's a really big consistency problem with Vi that, you just couldn't know what you were going to get with her ultimate. Am I going to be able to follow up with Q or not, right? Like, it's just really silly. So that's what this is. The other thing was the grapple distance. The grapple distance can vary hugely with no clear logic, which often has a large effect on games. So basically, like, when I ult somebody, sometimes my character will go all the way inside them and then start ulting or whatever, and sometimes my character would like ult them from like all the way over here. Like my ult would start like here. What I was told basically is this is also addressed 300 units away instead of like 0 to 300 based on 0.25 second intervals. And also, yeah, the knockup duration consistent, which is kind of pretty, like these two are kind of connected to one another. I don't know if this was actually inconsistent because I did some testing on it, but anyways. Right, so I don't know if this was fixed or not because like you can see like I started the animation here, but like look at this one, like I started the animation like further away. Do you see how it's like it still kind of varies? Like here I started it here. You can see like the little blue shine thing. I think it's better than before because there were times before where I would go all the way inside of them before doing anything, and it would break games a lot. Like I would ulti somebody and then like they for some reason can get way more off than they should because my character is taking way longer to ult them than they should. And other times that my character would just like clip onto somebody like super fast, and then they would just be like screwed over completely. You know what I mean? It should now, theoretically, hypothetically, whatever, always be the one where they get screwed over. But I don't know if it works perfectly or not. Apparently it's because it was only clipping on people at 0.25 second intervals, which makes sense. Apparently the Q is doing the same thing. Okay, so automatic attack after Q casting the bug sometimes. So some people are complaining about this last patch, but I never figured out what it was exactly. So, oh, actually, this is the first one. Okay, but anyways, but there is definitely a huge bug with this patch. I wasn't sure if it was just some people talking about like random stuff, because sometimes people are having an issue with the game, but it's just them, like doing something wrong or whatever. But this patch, 100%, it's completely bugged. It's completely bugged, and I'll show you after. The Q's minimum/maximum damage counter is poorly coded and can lead to bad results and or be exploited. So basically, the way it was before is like, if you like full charge a Q or whatever, and then like you did like a tap Q or something, it would do the damage of a full charged Q. Or if you like just started the game or whatever, and then you tapped Q, it would do 0 damage. It was just really weird. And I made a video on this. You guys might have seen it. I was using it a lot for jungle clearing. Like I could do dragon like 2-3 seconds faster, or use it some of my camps to do them a little bit faster. That's definitely a nerf to get rid of. Honestly, like because they did address this. There was a bug with this or whatever. They did address it, but so it is a nerf for people who are really good at buy, but I'm all for it, you know what I mean? Like I don't think I should be like trying to work around some bug or whatever to be able to get the best out of my character. That's just silly. And then these positive changes more than make up for it overall. So okay, I'll show you guys the bug that came up. That's like definitely there after. Q cancels if your CC of Nimbus Cloak is activated near or on the collision box of another unit. This also occurs if a teammate with Nimbus Cloak heals you, which is also kind of interesting, while you're near or on the collision box of another unit. So this is the bug that was stopping me from using Phase Rush with Nimbus Cloak for a long time when it was actually strong. I don't think it's that strong anymore, so I would not recommend using Phase Rush and Nimbus Cloak, but I don't think they fixed this bug either. Like, that is to say, I wouldn't recommend using this even if they did fix this bug, but I don't think they fixed the bug anyways. I really hope this goes through. We'll see. Because like I didn't have Nimbus Cloak on me when I was in that custom. I'll show you guys what the bug looks like. Yeah, okay, it went through. So the bug is basically like if you I'll just test it right here. Yeah, so yeah, it's not fixed. It doesn't always happen. It's not the worst bug in the world, but if you're holding Q and then you like flash or smite or whatever while you're like on the collision box of a unit, like it could be a minion. It happened like I tried Phase Rush one game like a year ago or something. This bug has been a problem for as long as the new iteration of Nimbus Cloak is in the game, which is really too bad because Nimbus Cloak is so strong, or it was so strong. It's been nerfed like 3 or 4 times. Now it's just okay, you know what I mean? But it was crazy. And I was just like trying to play the game, and there's like some creeps or whatever, just some random creeps, and I try to flash Q, and my character just instantly gets the Q decharged. And then I also found out that it happens if somebody on your team has heal and heals you, and they have Nimbus Cloak, even though you don't have it. And it's not like you get Nimbus Cloak from them healing you either. Like I was in a fight or whatever, and some AD carry healed me, and then like I was near somebody, and my Q just like fizzled instantly. And I've had that happen, I think, 3 times ever. It's pretty rare, but like it was all like fights around here with the AD carry healing me while I'm like near somebody holding Q. It's really funny. Anyways, that's not fixed. Not a big deal though, because I wouldn't recommend using Nimbus Cloak, Phase Rush, or whatever anymore. Anyways, unfortunately, I would have loved to use that, but yeah. Passive does not trigger on an inhibitor or Nexus, fails I feel inconsistent. So I mentioned this in like, you know how if you Q or E or whatever, a monster or champion, ward, anything, literally anything other than the Nexus and the inhibitors, you get blast shield. Well, that's just silly. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's not like it's a disadvantage for Vi to have it not work on what is it, the inhibitors or Nexus. Sometimes you want to have your E like not get used. Okay, what the hell? Hold on, I have to like get all the way to the inhibitors for this, so another pain in the ass. It's not like it's a disadvantage to have it not work on inhibitors or nexus, because sometimes you don't want to get your blast shield to get popped on the inhibitor or nexus or whatever, right? Like, you want to hold it for like when you're actually fighting the enemy. But sometimes you do want it because sometimes you want to like, you know, E them through the inhibitor or whatever and get the shield so they can't trade back on you easily. So, and people at Riot said that they agree that this was, you know, because of the way that it was designed before, but that they could fix it and that the inconsistency didn't make sense or whatever. So it should be fixed, but they didn't say anything about this being fixed, so I'm going to assume it's not fixed. Let's just find out when we get to the inhibitor. Okay. Yeah, so it doesn't work on inhibitor still. So that bug was not fixed. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a bug. It's more like, it's sort of a bug, but not exactly. It's just like weird. Q does not refund 50% of its mana cost upon being CC'd. It did for about a year or two after 3.03 and ceased to without any notice or reasoning. So there was a change on 3.03 not too long after Riot's release, because she wasn't that good, where they made it so that if you get CC'd by somebody, you get half the cooldown back of your Q and you get half the mana cost back of your Q. The mana cost being refunded, half the mana cost being refunded on your Q, it just got taken away at some point, like in like season 5 or something, without anything being said. It's like it just bugged, or they just never made a patch note for it. I asked about this. They said that was intentional, so that answers that, I guess. It still refunds half the cooldown, or sorry, rather it puts the cooldown to 3 seconds. Q takes 0.25 seconds before being brought to the reduced 3-second cooldown if you're CC'd while charging. Really weird. Apparently this is about some problem with the internal timers in League of Legends. Apparently it's not even fixable. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like a really weird, illogical thing to not be able to fix, but they like refresh, they check for changes in timers every 0.25 seconds. So if I'm charging Q and somebody CCs me or whatever, the thing will like show a gray thing and then it'll reset and go back to 3 or whatever after a quarter of a second. Really strange, feels dumb and weird. You look down and you get like weird information, you look down and get different information, like
your team has destroyed
feels bad. But other characters also have that problem because it's all just based on like some issue with the timers for skills. Okay, so Q should certainly be granted a reduced cooldown if charged until timeout. So yeah, like I've always felt like if you charge Q as Vi and then you let it time out, you shouldn't get the full cooldown. Like in this case, it's nothing, but you shouldn't get the full cooldown. You should get at least a little bit of reduced cooldown. It just feels bad, you know what I mean? Like you didn't even cast it, you know. You do get like 50% of the mana back. So I mean, it hurts Vi's like threat uptime a little bit, because like let's say it's like some kind of ARAM or standoff or whatever, and you're holding Q and you end up not releasing it, and then it times out, then suddenly you just don't have Q for like, you know, 10 seconds or whatever, and it's just like, whoa, you know what I mean? So it's pretty bad. Sometimes I even feel like I'm holding Q in a standoff and I'm like, okay, I gotta release this so the Q cooldown starts like ticking again, because like holy shit, you know what I mean? So and they agree with me on this. The only thing is they need to be a little careful, because like otherwise, you know, too much threat uptime. But the thing is, if this was changed, it would actually be it would be more of a buff to buy in lane than it would be to buy outside of lane, I think. Because like if buy in lane can present the threat by holding Q and then not go for it and get like the cooldown given back to her, then like you can have threat uptime be significantly higher, which I think can make a big difference in certain situations for lane, I guess. I don't know. So they have to be careful if they change this. But yeah, they didn't change this. So Q very rarely glitches, stops midair, and leaves Vi in a state where she's unable to attack or cast and is stuck in a Q pose. I've experienced this about 10 times, never experienced it while fighting minions neutral. It seems to happen after interrupted R cast. I figured this out afterwards. So this happens every now and then. If somebody like Zhonya's or Evelynn ults or Zandra ults or Fizz E or whatever while you're ulting them as Vi, it feels like there's 2 different states that Vi is in when she's ulting. And it's like when she's like starting the cast animation, when she's on her way to, or 3, I guess, her cast animation, if it gets interrupted, you don't get anything. You get the cooldown back or whatever. And then there's like the on your way to somebody, and then there's like as you get onto them and you're like, you know, doing the CC or whatever. If you get interrupted like during the CC part and then you try to Q somebody immediately after, your Q just like won't connect into them, and you'll get put into this like weird situation where you're like for some reason like doing this. Yeah, and it feels pretty bad. You're just stuck there for like a second, not being able to do anything. Um, that I don't think was fixed. I doubt that was fixed. Trinity, this is just vaguely related to Vi. I'd like to see Trinity reworked slightly. I think they already know that that's like a thing they should do. I just think a lot of Vi players have Trinity as something that they are really like passionately into, and it feels kind of lame this season. That it's just not been that great for pretty much the entire season. It's just like it's too heavily, the strengths are too heavily placed on benefiting splitters with total AD scalings. It ramps up your total AD as you get more and more like stacks of Trinity or whatever, and it also ramps up on towers and stuff. So it's basically like it's for people who like attack speed and movement speed, like Spellblade, and have total AD scalings. Vi has one on her E, but it's not that great, so it's kind of irrelevant, and she's not really much of a splitter. It's a kind of a weird item. I'd like to see it change a little bit. Anyways, not completely related to Vi. This is one of my general league complaints. They obviously didn't change anything with this. One of my general league complaints, that's why it has 37 after, because it's like I have like 100 different random grievances with League of Legends. A lot of them are just random UX problems. But this isn't specific to Vi, but it's that you can move around UI elements while holding Vi Q. Like, I don't really see why I should be able to move people around on the scoreboard and move the scoreboard around while holding Vi Q. I do it sometimes by accident. Like I'll be like queuing somebody. I'll be queuing like while jungling or whatever, and then I'll like open up the scoreboard to look at it, and I'll just like move it randomly, and then I'll be like, oh man, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, it's not a big deal, but it's just like that shouldn't be possible anyways. For held down spellcasts, like should just lock you out of moving UI elements, because there's no reason why you would want to do that in the first place. Q Flash, it was really bad on Vi. It loses you about 300 range compared to Flash Q because of the change in Season 7, where Vi's hitbox for Q Flash was changed from being in front of her, depending on the direction she pointed her Q at, which was really weird too, to being based on her own collision box, which is obviously like the Q has like a little box in front of it where you can hit people, and if you lose that, then you lose like 300-ish range. So that's what they changed it to be. But it felt easier to land, but it was shit either way, honestly. And then my idea is like it should include her collision box as well as the Q's collision box, you know, like it does with Gragas and Shen and so on, because it's just like it's so much it feels so much better, you know, to be able to do that. And they did change it. This is one of the changes they did, and I think it's a really good change, because like Q Flash is a great cool play or whatever that you could do on Vi, but it was like not only strictly inferior but also like hard to execute and mostly completely pointless when you can just, you know, like you can just like flash Q on somebody instead. You can still do that, and it's still like slightly niche of a play, but now that it's very easy to execute, like compared to before, like it's actually a pretty, you know, you've got a lot of potential to use this Q Flash play in your games, even if you're not like some crazy insane player. You know, it's relatively easy to execute. So I recommend checking that out. That is one of the changes they did. Arc paths that get interrupted should fizzle a bit faster. Currently, the wind down time feels horrible. Other times it doesn't. So I think the problem there is like, if I get my LT interrupted like here, my character stops after a little bit and it's not a big deal. But if I get my LT interrupted here, then I get like stuck in this like, whoa, just like self-CCing myself for like 2 seconds doing nothing. Like if Camille ults me while I'm ulting her or whatever, as I'm getting to this part right here, then I'm literally just stuck there in the middle of Camille's ultimate for like a good like second or two, just letting myself get hit, letting myself get pummeled. Like it's just horrible. And this happens if someone casts stopwatch or zonians, etc. If someone dies, oh my god, if someone dies and I get stuck in this like wind down animation, it's really bad. You know what I mean? It feels like it's super, super, super unforgiving. They didn't change this, obviously. This is not entirely related to Vi. It has more to do with League of Legends entirely. It's like, people think like, oh, 20% armor pen on my W plus, you know, 20% from Last Whisper. That's 40% armor pen, you know what I mean? But it's not like that. Your W applies, reduces their armor, and then Last Whisper applies on top of that. So it ends up being more like, I don't know, you know, 17% armor, or sorry, 37% armor or 35% armor pen or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit weird. But they would have to change some other characters as well. So, but that's like just an interesting thing. I just think that it confuses people to have it be like that. So, I didn't mention these ones to people at Riot, but they were addressed. Q dashes intended by players to clear walls are extremely unforgiving and feel bad. So this is something I've had forever with Vi. Like, clearing a wall with Vi is like, you really have to make sure it goes all the way over. Like, if it didn't go all the way over, you just weren't clearing any walls before. Like, and it's gonna take me a while to get used to this, you know, but like, you really have to go all the way over. Like, this had to go, like, the little thing at the end of the indicator had to go completely over the wall for it to be reliable. Now, you get a little bit of, like, 20, 50 extra units when going over a wall or whatever, just given to you for free. Like, she cheats the walls a little bit. Feels really good. You can just tap Q and get over some of the walls, like, even like these bigger ones, like, you don't have to charge it as much. You can just, you know, and she can also clear some walls that she couldn't before. Like, this one you could never clear before. Now you can clear it, you know, like, you can go further, like, you can clear, like, these big walls. You can, you know, this wall here, you used to only be able to do, like, this one little tiny little spot here, right here, and now you can do it anywhere on the wall pretty much, other than, like, this really thick part here. Like, oh, and another really big one is you can do this one here. Holy shit, it's huge. You could never do this before. You could only go like this or like this. So this helps a lot because it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right that you have to go all, like, you have to get your indicator to go all the way past the wall. You know, for a lot of characters, it was like, you know, you just get it a little bit past the wall and you'll go over, right? But with Vi, it was like, you know, yeah. So this is a really nice change. I didn't mention this. That was, they thought of it, I guess, but it's something that I totally agree with and that I maybe should have thought of, type of thing. These two I didn't mention because I didn't think of them that much, but the Q cast checks for connection on 0.25 second rolls as well, which makes some Qs that should land not land. Like, so before, as you're traveling through the air, it's like 0.25 seconds, 0.25 seconds is checking for collisions or whatever. I didn't have much of an issue with it because it travels so quickly anyways, I guess, but you know, there were times, I suppose, where, like, I was hitting at somebody, but they flashed just as I was, like, connecting with them or whatever, so I never connected with them or whatever. It should just, like, basically feel a little bit more reliable now, I guess. And then the R casts, like, connecting people on your way to your target, were doing that as well, but I didn't notice that very much either, only a little bit. Like, sometimes I would have someone who's, like, in between and it looks like they should have gotten hit, but they, like, moved or whatever and somehow just didn't get hit. Like, I don't know, but it wasn't that much of a problem. Just little consistency things that I didn't even think of that this one I think will be, like, semi-noticeable. This one, like, but whatever, you know, cool. Some of these I mentioned afterwards. Like, I thought of it after I had discussed everything with Riot. I mentioned these as well, but, like, you know, after. The W first indicator circle often appears under targets. Not, you know, this or whatever, but like this. Check it out. The first circle is, like, you know, practically invisible or whatever. It's yeah, you know, it could use a little bit of a, like, you know, some kind of mini update or whatever, so it's a bit more visible. But it's not too big of a deal. It's just small things or whatever. It could be easier to see in certain cases and, like, big champions and stuff. But anyways, but the W indicator, what made me think of this is the WK for Psyops is a transparent purple/blue. It's like a crosshair that's like a transparent purple/blue. And I was noticing, I was trying to use that skin, I was having a lot of problems with being able to see it in certain situations. And I think the problem was, like, I was fighting in River. And in River, it's, like, blue, and in certain map colors, it's, like, bluish, like a darker blue or whatever. And it was, like, practically invisible in River, it felt like. So I'd really like to see the W indicator for Psyops change a little bit. W indicator could use a little bit of an improvement overall. I don't know. The E splash on Nexus doesn't always exit or expected by the player. So I was having this problem where, like, if you hit the Nexus from, like, this weird diagonal or whatever, from one of these diagonals, I think that's what causes it, maybe, but I'm not fully sure. And I don't know if this is still a thing because it's so uncommon for me to E through Nexus. But you know how you would expect the E to come through like this, right? Or like this. For some reason, sometimes, pretty regularly actually, in my experience, it just came through, like, backwards. Like, it went down through it or whatever. You know what I mean? I can try to test it a little bit right now, actually, but maybe
Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
I don't know how I can. Let's see here. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kill the towers and then I'm gonna sell all my items so that I have that thing, so I do, like, no damage to the Nexus. But they definitely didn't fix it, you know. If it's fixed, it was fixed a long time ago because it was probably a League of Legends problem, not a Vi problem. So it seems like it's been fixed. Although I'm noticing now another problem, maybe it's that the cone comes out of the middle of the nexus, not the end of the nexus, but maybe that's how they fixed it. Because like, yeah, before what was happening is it was coming out at the end of the nexus, but it came out backwards like a lot of the time. Now it seems like it's coming out the correct direction, but it's coming out in the middle of it. Which feels like it maybe has a lower range, but so that's maybe an interesting thing to note. Anyways, so that was the thing, and then Q can barely not reach the Gromp over the wall. I've always felt like this is a little annoying. It's so close. Oh, it's so close. You know, Lee, Jarvan, Rek'Sai, etc. Everyone can reach this, but Vi is just like, oh, please. Just barely can. It's so close, you know. It would be nice. It's a cute little way of like increasing her clear speed a bit. Because like, you know, if you're like looking for something bottom or whatever and you come back up and then you go for Gromp, like otherwise you have to like go like this is kind of disgusting. It's just, like waste like 2 seconds of your time. Right? Obviously that didn't change. I thought that might have changed because the wall clearance thing, but the wall clearance thing is actually, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't extend your, it doesn't make you go further. It just lets you clear walls more, you know? It just lets you clear the wall more. So, which is still good. It's just, it doesn't do this, obviously. As the new bugs, the Q makes no sound if fully charged. So, no sound effect for the Q if it's fully charged. Feels really bad, actually. Not a big deal though, it doesn't affect the gameplay, but it feels really bad. And then Qs that are used quickly don't input an auto attack. So if I use Q here, right, it's in neutral. If I use Q here, my character will attack immediately, right? That's just part of the, you know, part of the design for Vi since forever. If I tap Q, my character just won't attack. And it takes like a second before she actually attacks. And this feels really bad in situations where you're like R'ing somebody and then you're Qing them and you want to like Q out of E or whatever, but like you kind of like, if you're a Vi player, you expect the attack to go through, but it just doesn't. Yeah, it feels really bad. Maybe she'll see a hotfix because that feels really terrible. Actually, this is a pretty significant bug. The Q not inputting the attack thing, it feels really bad. But if she doesn't see a hotfix, then it'll probably get fixed in the next patch, if I had to guess. But you know, all in all, like even with this bug, that's actually pretty bad, and with a lot of the stuff not even actually fixed, or changed or whatever, just these changes alone, I think, still make a big difference. Like this is just huge. This stuff is just huge, and this is pretty significant too, honestly. And this is it feels a lot better to use. So, with all that said, Vi's win rate has gone up by, you know, despite this bug, which is pretty bad. Like this is a pretty bad bug, and it matters a lot. Like I've played like a couple of games since this patch, and every single game I've had this happen and screw me over like at least, you know, twice. You know, even if you're spam right clicking, like, you know, you're gonna get your auto in a little bit slower than you would have otherwise, I guess. And it's like, yeah, it's weird. But yeah, even despite that, her win rate has gone up by, you know, 1% or whatever. Not too surprising, but I think if this was fixed, it would go up like another percent. Honestly, it's pretty significant. So I think Vi is probably going to be the best or one of the best jungle picks in like you know, diamond and below right now. The best or one of the best, actually. And I think she'll probably see a small nerf soon as well. I'm hoping they'll fix a bit more of her bugs and stuff, but overall, I think we'll probably see a small Vi nerf as well soon. But I'm really excited because I think even if they do a small nerf to balance out the fact that she's stronger with more consistency and stuff, and, you know, functioning ultimate and Q flash and stuff, I think that will be a much healthier Vi to play, like a Vi that's a lot more fun to play because you can really know what you're going to get with her for once, and she can actually be balanced properly. Like she's not balanced around having her crap just not work, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm excited for that, and that's it. Kind of a long video, but I just kind of want to go everything I possibly could about this. So hopefully you guys found it interesting, and yeah, take care. Thanks for watching.